Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is ScopeSF and today we are taking another look at what kind of characters in Smite can rush the 3 daggers in order to get some of the quickest bang for your buck in the game. I'm not going to be going over the benefits of the daggers. I went in a lot of depth on the Fafnir video, but I have been looking around at other characters, like I said, which can get the benefits, and there are some really interesting oddball picks. And one of the ones that I found recently that has been quite a lot of fun, one that barely got by the initial theory crafting stages. Me thinking to myself, would this actually work? Turns out it does, and it works a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. And that specific character, believe it or not, is going to be Vulcan. So the specific reason that I originally thought this idea of a cloak and dagger build would be good on Vulcan is specifically because of his passive. For those of you who don't know, Vulcan's passive, Master Craftsman, whenever Vulcan successfully hits an enemy god with an ability, he gains bonus movement speed and MP5 for 5 seconds. So 15% movement speed and bonus MP5. So this passive makes Vulcan specifically good at, I guess, two things. One, he's very good at escaping and running away. Between his backfire, sort of, kind of, not really being a movement speed ability, but it does displace him in the opposite direction he's facing, so you can use sort of as like a pseudo dash. His turret just kind of auto locking onto specific characters and keeps giving him that passive, and the meatball having a little bit of CC with the knockup attached to it. Um, he is really good at just keep on applying that movement speed and applying that MP5 to keep giving himself the potential to keep using abilities, to keep applying the movement speed, to keep applying the MP5, to keep getting more movement speed, and so on and so forth. So he's very good at essentially constantly giving himself 15% movement speed. But Vulcan can also be an annoying little son of a gun up on the front line because his passive also makes him very good at kiting. Not only is he getting that movement speed, but with the MP5 as well, like, yes, you have to wait on cooldowns, but Vulcan's one of those characters you kind of want to build a lot of cooldown on anyway. It allows him to keep up his abilities better than a lot of other characters. So, with mages, two of kind of the bottlenecks for whether or not you're an ability spammer is going to be your cooldown reduction and your mana, whether it's your total mana pool or your MP5. With Vulcan just getting more MP5 to keep up with the mana cost of his abilities, the only thing he's kind of lacking is cooldown reduction. And as we kind of saw, the building the full dagger tree, or even just relic dagger and witchblade, that gives you 20% cooldown right off the bat between those two items. And then if you build Sands of Time, that's not only another 10% cooldown, but that's another huge bonus to your MP5. So between a starter item and your first 2 to 3 items, we'll throw Wing Blade in there. We'll just keep it as like a 3-item start. You're getting 30% cooldown reduction and a ton of MP5 just from your passive and the passive that you're getting from Sands of Time. So you're essentially, with Vulcan, going this build, doubling down on your passive, which very good at kiting. So when you're playing Vulcan, you are controlling the environment and you are controlling the fights. Granted, with Fafnir, I know that I always talked about it being a cloak and dagger build because you're rushing the 3 daggers first, and then when I can, I like to build the 2 cloaks at the very end to get the full 40% cooldown reduction, the full 40% crowd control reduction, and a lot of protections to complement all of the health that you're getting. I build this. I build Vulcan a little bit differently. I like to go what I am actually calling the speed diff build because there's a very specific reason for that. So what you're essentially looking at, we'll go into the God Builder. Starting off, you're pretty much always going to go Sands of Time, uh, because like I said, this is what complements his passive very, very nicely, and I honestly think this is kind of just what makes this play style work with Vulcan. If you try and go any other starter item, I don't think you'll be able to pull this off. So we're saying Sand of Time is mandatory. And then, you'll start on this. I actually do like to build this as a defensive, so maybe I'll go Magic Shell. And that's probably just what my start will look like. I won't invest into any of the potions, not for the same reason that Fafnir doesn't invest in potions, but I think Vulcan, if you play him smart, you're not going to run out of mana just because of your passive and Sands of Time passive, but you are getting, a little bit of health from the Ancient Blade. You have the shell to back you up, so as long as you're being smart about your positioning, you don't need the health pots, you don't need the mana pots, you more just want to save that gold to rush the items as quickly as possible. But then you get to your core, so we'll say you build Relic Dagger first, then you want to get that cooldown online, so we'll build the Witchblade next, and then finally we will build the Wing Blade. So here you are. You got your movement speed package, your health, your protections, your cooldown reduction, your crowd control reduction, all the fun efficiency stuff that you're getting for very, very cheap. Where do you go from here? A little bit of an oddball item, but the one that I like to go, and the reason that I'm calling this the speed diff build. I like to go Gem of Isolation. So looking at Gem of Isolation, can we actually pull this up? Here. So, 90 magical power. Okay, sure, whatever, doesn't matter. 200 health. Complements the health that you're getting from your first 3 items very, very nicely. And 10% crowd control reduction, which also complements your first 3 items very, very nicely. You're, even without protections, or, substantial protections, you're going to be a tanky son of a gun with this build. But the passive is what I really like about this. Enemies hit by your damaging abilities will move 20% slower for 1 second. Now, I do want to point out, I'll save this real quick. This does not work with your Inferno Cannon. Fireballs, Inferno Cannon last. This inherits Vulcan's penetrations, but does not apply on-hit effects. So, you are not slowing enemies that are taking damage from Gem of Isolation. But you still are getting a movement speed differential because your turret does apply your passive. So if an enemy gets shot by your turret, it at least refreshes your passive. Your passive doesn't stack, it's just either you have it or you don't. But if an enemy walks in line of your turret, you are getting that, and they do get shot, you are getting that 15% movement speed, you are getting that 15 MP5. And this is something that, even if you're just running away, you can just throw the turret down at your feet in the direction that you are running. So that way, if as you're running forward, you are running into your own turret's line of sight, if an enemy tries to chase you down through that, then they will also be in your turret's line of sight, they will get hit, and then therefore you're just they're just giving you movement speed by taking a little bit of additional damage. And because Vulcan does have 4 damaging abilities, he's always, having his passive off of that. But your other 3 abilities, your Backfire, your Magma Bomb, and your Earth Shaker, they all do apply Gem of Isolation as well. Now, granted, you're not going to be using your ultimate to specifically apply the Gem of Isolation, and you can definitely make the argument that Gem of Isolation really doesn't work with your Magma Bomb because the meatball does knock enemies up in the air, and by the time that they are done being knocked up, they're back on the ground, they're back ready to move. The passive from Gem of Isolation would have expired because it only does last for 1 second. So you can definitely make that argument. But if you are consistently hitting your Backfire, which is on a really, really short cooldown, granted it starts off at 7 seconds, but this is the ability that you're maxing first. So you are very, very easily getting this down to a 5-second cooldown naturally. Not to mention your 30% cooldown after your starter item and first 2 to 3 items, but even 40% by the end game when you upgrade your Sands of Time into Pendulum of the Ages, I believe is what it's called. Whatever the starter item is that just makes it a beefier version of Sands of Time. You're getting this down to at least, or at most 4 seconds. So you are constantly applying the slow from Gem of Isolation as long as you keep hitting the Backfire. And that is going to be substantial when you're playing this character kind of as a pseudo support role. And your job up there is to kind of be the nuisance. You're not consistently going to be getting hit by abilities, but you are consistently hitting abilities. Even if you're not dealing damage to them because you're not building damage, they are not dealing damage to you because you're a slippery little son of a gun. So, at the end of it all, just having, what I am referring to as the movement speed differential, them constantly being slowed, you constantly being faster, and just having all the movement speed from the first few items, it makes Vulcan a very awkward target for everybody else, but he's still not somebody that you can just ignore. Because the turret is an auto lock-on, it is free damage. His meatball is a knock-up, which is one of the most powerful CCs in the game. He has a very long-range ultimate that still does a substantial amount of damage when you put points into it, even if you're not building that much damage to begin with. So, I guess ultimately the best way to put it, Vulcan is a character that the enemy team how do I put this? Vulcan is a character that the enemy team cannot ignore, but they are punished, or at least not being rewarded, for focusing with this type of build. So ultimately, that's why I think it works on Vulcan. And honestly, it still just is a fun build to play. But then, anyway, so you kind of got your core set here. You'll be building into, Pendulum of Ages. It's kind of what you're looking for there. This is probably what you're going to be building last. So let's actually take that out. So you got your Gem of Isolation. I like to put this in every iteration of this build. Your last item will be a flex pick. 2 items that I've really, really been enjoying. When the enemy has a lot of healing, you go Divine Ruin. Even though this still isn't being applied by your turret, you're still hitting your 1, your 3, and your ultimate quite consistently. So they are always being hit by this healing reduction. And in addition to the Gem of Isolation, you're going a utility character with this type of pick. Uh, they're constantly being slowed by you, they're constantly being anti-healed by you. It puts your team at an advantage over them, because those are two status effects that enemies really don't want to have put on them. So Divine Ruin, definitely a nice pick there. The other one I actually do like going is Ethereal Staff. Yes, you are overcapping on crowd control reduction if you do this, and I never thought I would have said overcapping on crowd control reduction, because like, who does that? But can I still see? Yeah, here. Whenever you damage an enemy god with an ability, you're stealing mana and health. So stealing the mana, actually kind of nice. It works with your passive, even though you really don't need to focus on your passive by the time you're building Ethereal Staff. But it still does allow you to keep up with the ability spamming, because you're just getting more mana back. You're also getting more health back, in addition to the natural 200 health that you're getting from this item. So even though you're not building very many protections literally at all, you're still quite a tanky boy. Just at least you're at least beefy. You got some meat on the bones with how much health that you are getting between all your items. If you're building, this first set, I forget what I said this was. I think it was like 750 health, I believe. Plus this is... Excuse me. I believe it's another 200. Let me double check. Yeah, plus another 200, and then plus another 200. So between all that... Can I double check this? Oh yeah, I could just double check. I'm not looking at builds. So 350... 250 is 600 plus 200. Okay, so 800 health plus the additional 400, a total of 1,200 health between all your items. That's nothing to scoff at. Definitely makes Ethereal Staff another viable option as well. But ultimately, like I said, these are the two that I like to go, and these are probably going to be the two that I go practically every time, because they complement the utility mage nuisance build playstyle very well. But your last item is always going to be a flex pick, and the thing that separates a lot of good Smite players from great Smite players is understanding what each item does and knowing which one to build in each situation. But then even so, the very last thing you're going to be doing, you're going to be upgrading to Pendulum of the Ages. If you can do this sooner, that's great. But another huge thing about the Dagger build is that because these items are so cheap to begin with, you're probably consistently going to be building all of these before you even hit level 10, even without something like a Fafnir passive. Just on any basic character, you're going to be having half your build done very, very quickly. So even by the time you build the 3 daggers, plus Gem of Isolation, plus whatever your final flex pick utility item is, you're still probably not even going to hit level 20. So trust me, it's not from a lack of trying. Pendulum of the Ages is absolutely fantastic as an item to build on Vulcan, but you're just probably not going to be able to do it until the very, very late game. So, but yeah, that's essentially what we're looking at. We're going to dive into some gameplay to show you what the build looks like when it's in action. So I hope you enjoy the game, and I will see you guys at the end of it.
Come, eat meat, but to start the fires. I'll walk however I want. Go to sleep.
He's just 15. Oh, gosh. I already have the starter item, so I don't need as mana as badly as most others do.
Be right back. Out of mana.
With first blood, we begin the story.
It's like catching old people. Your time at an end. Be right back.
You know, maybe I should get. Yeah. Actually, get some cooldown online as well.
Ultimate is ready! I'll attack!
Okay.
Attack!
Ultimate is ready.
I'll attack!
An ally has been slain. How much do you think the enemy team is paying?
Okay. Please. Okay.
Bro, you dove into free.
Okay. Wait! Attack! Attack! Okay. Attack left lane.
Ew! What did you do to him? An ally has been slain. Somebody that's not you killed a guy.
Boom.
At an end. Come here, Lola.
She got greedy. Oh, it's just not. Okay. It's fine.
Boss, I don't fear pain.
I think at this point I just want to get some cool defense online and then get the early cooldown.
Can't stand me.
been slain.
You're keeping
Starting to
this
heat
team
up.
alive.
Be right back.
Can't stand the heat.
Be careful, middle.
Okay.
On my way.
An enemy has left the game.
Whoops.
That's unfortunate.
Attack! Attack! Attack!
Just help me. Okay.
A teammate did a thing.
You did good. An enemy has
Okay, Willie's back.
Keep an eye on that guy.
Be right back.
Ultimate is ready!
starting to heat up.
What do I have? What do I need? I have it. Alright.
Nothing quenches my
Ultimate
fire.
is down.
Enemy has been slain. Smells like someone's cooking up a killing spree.
My baby. This ought to do.
A teammate did a thing.
You did good.
Be right back.
Get past my baby.
Thanks!
Kinda hope we can do this.
Thanks! It's
Nope,
a trap!
Nope. So much go.
Retreat, right lane.
On my way!
They can't catch me. Alright, so...
No way they
Be
can
right
stand
back.
the heat.
I get that.
That's a bummer.
Minions have reached your fortress.
An ally has been slain. Teammate started
Double kill.
starting to heat up. I guess they're dead. An enemy has been smoked. Yeah.
On my way!
Killing spree. Don't even feel a little bit bad. Somebody that's not you, kill the guy. An ally has been slain.
Okay.
That's unfortunate.
Very good.
Yeah.
Starting to heat up.
Attack!
Using the wrong relic there was,
This
in
thing I'll
fact,
walk however I want. Ultimate is
An
down.
ally has been slain. How much do you think the enemy team is paying them?
it's not gonna make any.
A teammate did a thing.
Attack!
An enemy has been slain.
Right.
You should keep an eye on that guy.
Retreat!
Prepare for trouble and make it double.
Mana for this.
No way they can stand
An ally has been slain. How much do you think the enemy... Somebody that's not you killed a guy. An ally has been slain. Teammates started bleeding.
Wait!
I should have used speed.
Killing spree. An enemy has been slain. Oh, that looked like it hurt.
Is he going full damage? Yeah, like you're allowed to go full damage, but if you do that, you have to make the expectation that you will just die if you just jump in.
An ally has been slain. You did a thing. Too soon for the show.
Right on.
Less.
A teammate did a thing. An ally has been slain. The enemy team is paying them.
Did I get out of that? Let's go.
You should keep an eye on that guy. An ally has been slain. Teammate started bleeding. Really?
Dodging
Only a
hurts.
double kill?
killing spree.
Silence of space consume you!
An enemy has been slain.
Killing spree.
Oh, that looked like it hurt. An ally has been slain. Teammates started
Look,
bleeding.
I stoke the fire soon. No way they can stand
An enemy
me.
has been smoked. Yeah.
Ultimate is ready!
Ultimate is down.
There we go. Full build. Surprise, surprise. Everybody else nobody else.
Somebody that's not you killed a guy. An ally has been slain. An enemy has been smoked.
Yeah, I think so.
An ally has been slain. How much do you think the enemy team is paying? Hey,
Lights
guys.
of the time.
Attack!
A teammate did a thing. Maybe you should keep an eye on that guy.
Double kill.
An enemy has been slain.
It's trash!
Enemy ultimate incoming!
Starting to heat up.
A teammate did a thing.
You did good.
Group up!
Yeah.
Be right back.
Okay.
Group up! Group up!
Now I have been slain. An enemy has been smoked.
Boom! Headshot! Let's go!
Awesome!
It's all over for you.
I mean, perfectly calculated, as all things should be. So yeah, even though that last part of the fight kind of came in clutch, MVP moment was still running from their side of their base to, all the way back to my fountain on basically 10 health the entire time being chased by 3 people. That's what happens when you build a tank utility Vulcan. Not exactly the way I expected the full build to go. I was expecting to go, I usually like to go Gem of Isolation before Divine Ruin, as mentioned in the intro, but between the Afro actually being kinda good, and Kukulkan was also building quite a bit of lifesteal, it made a bit of sense. And props to the Athena for not dying at all. How much did I mitigate? Not very much, actually. But honestly, with numbers like these, you could tell that this still worked out. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.